It's the Virgin Queen. Ellie Taylor is going to tell us all about it, nailing a Prosecco and 6 vodka Diet Cokes along the way.
I fucking love cats, mate. This is a story about the Virgin Queen, or as you may know her, Queen Elizabeth. The first. So, on the 17th of November, 1558, Queen Elizabeth took her place on the throne at the tender age of 25. She took on a country that was bankrupt and that was really falling behind France and Spain in regards to superpowers, stuff like that. When Elizabeth came to power, she had a load of courtiers around her, and they all were of the opinion that unless she married a dude, Britain was going to be even more fucked. They were all like, she's going to cry and bleed everywhere. What's going to happen? We need some testes around to bloody fight the foreigners. She can't rule by herself because she's got ovaries and they are, oh, not to cry, that shit. And Elizabeth obviously did not believe that because she was really strong-willed. She was like, no, back off, I got this. She did not want a man, but yet still, loads of guys started proposing to her. Even her brother-in-law, Prince Felipe of Spain. So Prince Philip of Spain comes up to Elizabeth and is like, oh, hey, Elizabeth, I hear you need a husband. I've been married to your sister. She dead now, but now, hey, I'm single and let's get it on. I know how to be a prince consort. I know exactly how to do this shit. That's what he does. So she's like, well, numero uno. Is that Spanish? Probably. Numero uno, Felipe. You're married to my sister, so it's weird. It's not politics, mate. Number 2, you're Spanish. And I like croquetas, but I'm not interested in the lisp. That's not racist. And she's like, no, no way, Jose. Away with you. The reason is, my friends, because Queen Elizabeth already had a bae. And her bae was Robert Dudley. Now, Queen Elizabeth and Robert Dudley had been friends since they were like 8. They loved each other. Elizabeth is like, well, I'm really massive and famous now. I'm the freaking monarch of a country. I'm gonna get Robert in as part of my entourage. So now Robert has infiltrated the court. So everyone's like, who is this dude? No one knows. And Queen Elizabeth was seen creeping into his house. And Queen Elizabeth's servants would probably be like, oh, Your Majesty, you've gone the wrong way. And she's like, I left my ruff. I left my ruff in there, so I'm just going to get my ruff. But in reality, everyone knew. Everyone's like, well, that's not a problem, obviously. Why can't she just marry Robert Dudley? Well, the reason she can't marry Robert Dudley is because Robert Dudley bloody already married to a lady who is called Karen.
Karen?
Janet? Is it Amy?
Amy Robsart.
There we go! Amy Robsart. And you can imagine Queen Elizabeth's like, oh my God, Robert, can you imagine? Oh, he got married one night. And Robert's like, well, yeah, but got a wife, so not gonna happen. And Elizabeth's like, yeah. Can you imagine if your wife died? And that fucking happened. Crazy. How does Amy die? Oh, she's found at the bottom of the stairs. Now, this is a massive scandal. And the gossip mongers, they are mongering hard. Well, was it an accident? Did she just fall down the stairs? Or what if Elizabeth may have orchestrated thus? Now, there is an inquest Don't worry, there is an inquest. And the inquest says everything's above board, it was an accident. But no one really believed that. Robert hears that his wife, so you can imagine him going to see Queen Elizabeth, like, Liz, hi babe, I don't know if you heard the news, but Amy, dead. So now we're free to get it on. And Elizabeth's like, oh, for God's sake, Robert, well, now everyone's going to think I'm part of this shit. I've got a brand to protect. What is your problem? And Robert's like, oh, for God's sake, Lizzie, you know you wanted this all along. Lizzie, will you marry me? She's like, no, Robert, back off. No, I'm not going to marry you. I will never marry you. So she refuses all of his proposals that come forth. And there are a lot of them. There's a barber shop quartet, and they're like, oh, Elizabeth, bum, bum, dear, will you marry me? Bum, 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 bum. She's like, I hate four-part harmony. So Dudley kept on asking her. She was like, right, I need to make a point. I need to make a public address to everyone to know that they know, do not ask me to marry them because I'm not interested. So what she did, she made a speech. She's like, listen to me, even if I was like a milkmaid with a bucket on my arm, because that is what milkmaids do, no man is gonna get near my bucket. So, back the fuck off. I'm gonna be single forever. So Robert is like, fine, I take the hint. I'm gonna look elsewhere. He's like, I'm gonna go out, I'm gonna have a blowout because every bone needs a home. So Robert is on a night out, he's blowing off some steam. Guys need to do. Where is he? Essex. He's dancing away. Who does he see? Some amazing bird. She's the frickin' Countess of Essex. And he starts dancing with the hot bit of stuff. Robert's like, oh, dude, do you want a drink? And she's like, yeah, babe, I love Malibu and Diet Coke. He's like, oh, cool. Do you want to marry me? She's like, yeah, babe, cool, that sounds great. Robert's like, whoa. Dudes never say yes. This is incredible. Found myself a wife. What's your name, by the way? And she's like, oh, it's Lettuce. It's Lettuce Devereux, Countess of Essex. Lettuce! Like mixed leaf, like that. And he's like, oh, we can deal with that, never mind. So they get married. Now, Elizabeth is fuming. Even though she's turned him down for 1,000 years, she does not want anyone else to marry him. Elizabeth, to get her own back, every time that Elizabeth wants to go and see Robert at his house, she makes Lettuce fuck off. But that is not even enough for Elizabeth. Not only does the Queen shag her husband, she shags her son, Robert Devereux. How bad is that? I mean, all in all, she is such a bitch, but she reigned alone for 44 years as one of the most successful, popular monarchs that Britain has ever had, and all without the sight of any testicles near her. And for that, I would absolutely raise my glass to the Virgin Queen. She's not a virgin.
Easy Suttie is in the storyteller chair for this one. After 7 glasses of Prosecco and 2 shots of Sambuca.
This is the story of Edward VIII, who gave up his throne for love. Spoiler alert. Prince Edward was a prince. He was the Prince of Wales. Life for Edward in the 1920s was just like party after party. He just loved meeting women, and he didn't care if they were like married, single, gay, straight, conscious, unconscious. He just wanted to shag. So his dad, King George V, he really cared about the reputation of the royal family and basically didn't agree with what Edward was doing. They were at a ball and the king was there in all his finery and he was watching Edward. And Edward was lying with women all on top of him. And George was like, you are a big problem. But the worst thing about Edward, as far as his father was concerned, was that he loved having sex with married women. And George didn't like that because it gave the royal family a bad name. So King George turns to his trusted friend, Alan Lascelles, but everyone calls him Tommy, and he was like, what am I going to do? He's my son, and he's a massive embarrassment to me. Like, he's doing all this stuff under my nose, and I'm not going to be alive forever. I don't know what to do. And Tommy Lascelles was like, I think that the best thing would be if someone looked after him. So King George was like, I don't know what good it's really going to do. Like, I'm looking at Edward now, and he's fucked. And Lascelles was like, leave it with me. And so Lascelles becomes Prince Edward's private secretary and tries to keep an eye on him. And he just basically had to follow Edward around picking up the pieces, which consisted of bras, knickers, sex toys, disgruntled husbands. He just used to cuddle them and say, it'll be all right. But the problem was, every time Edward wanted to have sex with someone's wife, which was very frequent, he didn't know what to do with Lascelles, because Lascelles was always there like, hiya. So in the end, he decided to put Lascelles on a chair facing the wall, like in Blair Witch Project. And then Edward would be like shagging them and he'd be like, I'm so cool, I'm the prince, one day I'll be king. And then Lascelles would just be looking at the wall going, oh, well, that's Edward. But it wasn't actually working. If you looked at it from the outside, Edward was still shaggy as much as he initially was. And then in 1928, the king got really ill. And Lascelles got this call, and he was like, hiya. And the king was like, hello, I'm not very well. And Lascelles was like, have you got a cold? And the king was like, no, it's a bit worse than a cold. I'm kind of on my deathbed, actually. Have you curbed Edward's wild ways? And Lascelles was like, yeah. He's really reformed. And then the king was like, I need you to come home. I want to see Edward. He's going to be king. And then Lascelles was like, OK, I'll go and get him. So Lascelles had to get that young prince home. So he said to him, dude, you've had sex with 18 women tonight. I've just had a call from your father. He's not very well. And Edward was like, say my name, bitch. And then Lascelles was like, this is your dying father. Do you not care about him? I am out of here. But Edward didn't even hear because he was just too busy having sex yet again. Good old sex. Our friend and enemy. Luckily, the king didn't die. It turned out to just be a cold, really bad cold. But Lascelles had gone. So Edward was left on his own and he was going fucking mental. He was shagging anything that moved and stuff that didn't move. Statues, traffic cones, he was like, come on. And then everything changed for Edward. He went to a party in 1931 and he saw someone who changed his very being. Oh my God. She's amazing. She had black hair and red lips and a nose and 2 eyes and teeth. She was like everyone else, but he felt more strongly about her than he ever had about anyone. She was the one. So he walked over, it was like 5 steps, but it felt like 1,000,000 steps. And he got to her and he was like, hello, 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 my name's Edward. And she was like, hi, my name's Wallis Simpson, but I can't talk to you because you're a man and I'm married. And she's like, I'm so bored. And he's like, yeah, me too. And inside he was like, what are you doing, Edward? Normally you've got them in bed by now. What is the matter with you? You're stuttering. And then he was like, I've just remembered. I'm the future king. I can use this. So he said, oh, by the way, I'm going to be the future king of England. And she was like, the future king of England? Are you sure? And he was like, yes, I'm sure. It's just something that happens to me. And she was like, are you sure you're sure? And he was like, yeah, I'm fucking sure, I'm sure. Her husband, Ernest Simpson, was like, oh, fuck. And, basically, Edward was like, I don't want anyone else now. I just want Mrs. Wallis Simpson. And for 5 years, Edward carries on with Wallis, but she was married, and that was not good. And then on the 20th of January, 1936, George passed away, died dead. Edward was finally free, and he thought, all these years, I've been trying to do what my dad wants me to do. He said that I couldn't have sex with traffic cones, but it doesn't matter now because he's dead. So finally he was king, but he just wasn't that bothered about being king. Like Mrs. Wallis Simpson was there all the time, and she was like, come back to bed, I've made freshly baked croissants. And he was like, oh, I've got to think of a law to do with the people. I can't come back to bed now, but I really love freshly baked croissants. I don't know what to do. He was just shagging. In November 1936, Edward was like, I want to marry this lady, she's the best. So he goes to the Prime Minister, who's Mr. Stanley Baldwin, and he's like, I'm going to marry Mrs. Wallis Simpson. And Mr. Stanley Baldwin is like, no, you're not. And he's like, yes, I am. And Mr. Stanley Baldwin is like, no, you're not. And he's like, yes, I am. He's like, no, you're not. And he's like, yes, I am. And in the end, there was an ultimatum. And Mr. Stanley Baldwin was like, you had 3 choices. 1 is that you give up the throne and you're allowed to marry her. 2, you are allowed to marry her, but the government will resign. So you'll be left in no government. 3, you don't marry her. You can remain king. We can bring you all the traffic cones in the world. And everyone was like, why are you doing this to me, man? He was like, I love Mrs. Wallis Simpson. I've got to marry her. And so Edward decided to abdicate. The day came for the king to resign, and he said, I can't carry on. I love a woman. This woman has stopped me from being the king that I love. And I found it a burden of responsibility. The burden of responsibility has eaten into my bones, and I cannot carry on. Amen. Yeah, cool. And so Edward had given up the throne after just 11 months in charge of the country. It was a travesty, but it is a quite nice love story. I mean, it starts sleazy, but at the end of the day, he does fall in love with her and she does fall in love with him, and they do fight for their love like Cheryl Cole, Fernandez Vicini, and I'm happy for them. To Edward and Mrs. Simpson, may you live long and reign, although you're dead, but I hope you guys are watching this and you appreciate what I've done for you.